Welcome back to another episode of Trading Card History, where we dive deep into picture collectibles' rich journey from the 1800s to today. From baseball to Beatles, from football to fashion, and from pre-war to Pokemon, we will be covering every flavor of cards, the stories around them, and the people that made them happen. Let's resume. Part 5. The Post-War Card Explosion, 1940 to 1950. Not much happened in the trading card space through the 1940s because this thing called World War II was going on. Many factories producing goods deemed non-essential were transformed into production of something that supported the war effort. With few exceptions, the only cards produced at this time had something to do with the war effort itself. Sets like 1942 Allies in Action and America at War were released, depicting the real-time events of the war in Europe, perhaps as a way to keep even children informed on how things were going. Some card sets were designed specifically for the soldiers overseas. The Mutoscope pinup cards were sent overseas to GIs to keep spirits high on the front lines. They featured beautiful models of the time in raunchy outfits and poses to remind the guys what they were fighting for. The most interesting wartime card, however, was much more utilitarian. Tobacco cards are back, baby. Remember the American Tobacco Company who monopolized the tobacco industry 40 years ago? They were crushed by the hammer of the Supreme Court in the United States versus American Tobacco Company ruling in the mid-1910s and were broken up into all of the smaller tobacco companies that were featured in the T206 cards. One of those companies, Sweet Caporal, made a set exclusively for distribution to the military called spotter cards. These cards featured diagrams of enemy and allied aircraft from below, so soldiers could familiarize themselves with the differences in silhouettes. This was extremely important because if an aircraft was flying overhead, soldiers needed to be able to immediately identify if it was an enemy or allied plane and take action. This fascinating set was essential to the war effort and was distributed among not just the Americans, but our allies, such as the Canadians and the British. I want to pause for a second here. Throughout this video, I have mentioned numerous times how popular trading cards were, and how many of these sets we're discussing were flying off printers and kids everywhere enjoyed them. This begs the question many people are probably wondering. If trading cards were so popular and plentiful back then, why are many of these cards so hard to find today? During World War II, many things deemed non-essential were destroyed and recycled down to their basic materials and used to support the war effort. It was very common for children to host events called paper drives, where they would collect these materials and send them to factories. As you can probably guess, many old baseball cards were sent to these paper drives to be recycled and made into supplies to send overseas. While immensely popular, the idea of baseball cards being investments had not really taken off yet, so these cards were seen as worthless children's toys that were no longer needed. After the war, things slowly returned to normal as we welcomed our beloved baby boomers into the world. Along with them, trading cards. 1948 loudly arrived with 3 major sets in card history, from 2 new players to the card scene. Enter Bowman and Leaf. 1948 Bowman Basketball was the first full basketball card set ever, and is interestingly the only basketball set ever produced by Bowman. Since it was the first of its kind, it featured rookie cards of many of the early pioneers of the game. This set features 9 Hall of Famers rookie cards, with the most notable being George Mikan. This 72 card set also featured 12 basketball play cards, which taught strategy for new fans, such as the double cutoff post and the screenplay. The next 2 card sets were made by Leaf. The lesser known notable was their boxing set. These cards were sharp and vibrant, with bright red and blue dominating the set. It featured heavy lifters like Sugar Ray Robinson, Jack Dempsey, Jack Johnson, and James J. Jeffries. These are the names that built the sport of boxing. Finally, we have 1948 Leaf Baseball, the first notable baseball set in the post-war era. Since baseball cards had some catching up to do to the sport itself, it featured tons of Hall of Fame rookies such as Stan Musial, Warren Spahn, Ralph Kiner, Hal Newhouser, Satchel Paige, and the introduction of Jackie Robinson, the first African American to play professional ball. This set also featured loads of veteran stars, such as Ted Williams, Babe Ruth, and Honus Wagner with a mouthful of chew, 40 years after having his card removed from T206 due to alleged tobacco ties. A bizarre fact about 48 Leaf Baseball is the card list skips numbers for seemingly no reason. There are 98 cards in the set, but the numbering goes up to 198. There are no logical explanations for this, leaving much confusion and speculation. If you were to complete the set, it would start with 1, 3, 4, 5, and then 8, because the numbers of 2, 6, and 7 do not exist. Back to the story. Since Leaf was an international company that produced gum in Europe as well, they couldn't release American athletes that Europe didn't care about, so they had to try something new. What's the natural substitute for American athletes for a European audience? It's pirates, of course. Everyone knows that Americans love their boxing and baseball, and Europeans apparently love their pirates. All jokes aside, this set featured some of the most phenomenal artwork of historic pirates in the same stark and eye-catching color palettes as their American sport releases. The 40s were a wild time in world history, but some of the most unique and important cards of the hobby arose from them. These cards and manufacturers paved the way for the 1950s, which can only be summarized as the golden age of Topps.